This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, I'm Dr. Annette Cargioli, the creator and founder of Emotional Polarity Technique, which we call EPT for short. So when you hear us say EPT, we're actually talking about a technique that I developed over the last 30 plus years called Emotional Polarity Technique. And what we've been doing is we've been giving away free sessions of EPT so that people can kind of see how it goes, what it looks like, because EPT is a completely different approach to emotional health care. Instead of using traditional talk therapy or traditional drugs, EPT relies on the science of forgiveness to resolve the unresolved conflicts from your life, because forgiveness changes everything. Forgiveness can resolve the most amazing hurtful conflict that you've ever gone through. What is really incredible, once you resolve these conflicts, these emotional conflicts from your past and even in your present life, using forgiveness, there's an instant feeling in your body that shifts and gives you a sense of hope and elevates you to a greater feeling of love and healing. And for a lot of people, that means their pain goes away. It means that what they're able to create in their life becomes way more beautiful, way more in line with love than what they've been able to create before. So today I'm doing a session with Shirley. Hi, Shirley. You don't have a camera, right?
I do, if I know how to figure it out.
Okay. I mean, we can record me, but I mean, I'm thinking if you can get your camera on, that would be fantastic.
Hey, there I am.
Yes. Ah, yes. I
I
see
knew
you.
missing.
Perfect. All right. So this way, people who are watching or come and review this later will be able to see like what we're doing with magnets. We use magnets. I use a sound machine called a Qigong machine or a infratonic sound machine. And I use that on my own body while I'm doing this work, while I'm doing remote work, especially because, you know, there's a lot we don't know about remote work and how it takes a toll on our own energy system. So rather than just assume that nothing is going on because nobody's tracked that, I use a little Qigong energy or infratonic sound energy on my, basically it's on my lower abdomen to hold me basically a little more together and my energy to be sustained during a remote session. The other thing I'm going to use are magnets, and we have these have covers that are red and green because in some of them, the magnet itself is labeled in red and blue. And the reason is because we're using north and south polarity very specifically. For those of you who aren't familiar with magnet therapy, we're not just putting a red and green on the person. We're actually asking the body, does it need more north or more south? And so anyway, so I'll be using these as well. And sometimes we'll hold some points and we use the magnets over various parts of the body. We do breathing work as we do our forgiveness statements. And before I get started, I will also say EPT has a 4-step process that you can pretty much track while I'm doing it. We're going to focus on the problem. We'll establish that with Shirley, and then we're going to find the emotional conflict that's happening now and in the past that correlates with what's happening now, and then in that finding that issue in the form of a statement, it actually represents an emotional conflict that we identify that Shirley's brain is like dealing with in the background that's creating the static in her life that she's not enjoying right now. So we find that, and then we fix it by using magnets and controlled breathing, conscious breathing. And then we do forgiveness statements to basically change the conflict for good and to change the whole outcome and to open space for more love, which is what healing is all about. So what do you want to work on today, Shirley?
I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I know that what I've been trying to understand is my energies in my birth family that
Yep.
cause me problems in my current life.
Energy in birth family. All right. So what are the problems in your current life? Because that's what we'll tackle.
Um,
Is it a physical problem or just a feeling?
Overall feeling of I've been chipping so many things away lately that it's just like it feels like something's not quite finished.
Right.
I would say that what I've been working on lately is injustice, and it just seems like when I feel like there's injustice around me, especially in my family, it kind of triggers me. So even though I worked on it, it
So
seems to be.
you're very, so it's like you are, wait a minute, I'm dropping stuff. All right, let me get gotta get my stuff set up again. Okay, here we go. All right. So what that means, what you're saying, if I hear you correctly, is that your brain is going out of its way to notice injustice. And when you see the injustice, it feels not right to you.
Yeah.
And
And
like,
I would say that because of me thinking about the birth family, I would say that was probably a very central theme as we were growing up for all
was
of us.
was
So,
injustice. So when you say the theme, so was it that nothing was fair?
oh, definitely.
So everybody felt like it's just not fair. I'm
Yeah.
wondering, is that kind of what it is? So
Yeah.
the mantra in the family was, it's not fair.
It's got just a little bit of a twist on it because we know that, fairness is, I'm trying to figure out how to articulate that. It's not fair, but it's more of a, I, I guess that's the best way to put it at this point. So
All
let's
right.
go with
So
that.
I know, I don't know that we've hammered it down really good, but we're going to go with, so when I want to ask a few more questions. If it's not fair, was that the feeling with each other in the family or the feeling with outsiders and our family?
Oh, it was, I would say within my birth family.
So, I mean,
More
it could,
so, maybe more so from the adults versus the kids than it would be overall. I mean, there
so,
was some normal kid stuff, but I would say it would be injustice between the adults versus the kids.
and do you feel this anywhere in your body when you're talking about it?
Yeah, I guess I could say it kind of upsets my stomach.
Stomach. Okay. All right. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm writing adults versus children. And
People with
it's
authority.
people what?
People with authority.
Okay. The adults, the ones in charge.
Yeah. Or perceived in charge even at this
Okay.
point in my life.
Yeah. 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 Um, which is funny because now you're one of the ones in charge. So now you're like all like, because how do I be in charge when all these bad feelings come out? How do I
And still
take my
be fair.
authority? Huh?
And be fair.
Right.
How can I be in charge and be fair?
Right. And I want to, right. And you should be saying it's never about fairness.
Right.
Yeah. But you use the word justice, and definitely God is about justice, but he always says mercy triumphs over justice. So, yeah, this is tough. I mean, this is a weird kind of feeling in there in your family. All right. So it's not fair and it's in your stomach. So I'm going to start by, we're going to do you have magnets?
No, I went off without them, but I got my hands.
Okay, we'll do the hands. Okay, so we need North Pole magnets and we're going to do rapport. So breathe in and squeeze your head together. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. and breathe in. Breathe out. And then do the one in the front and then the back and lift skyward. Breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. All right. And then you can bring your hands down. Is there, so our focus is the whole concept of it's not fair. There's injustice in my birth family. And now it affects me now in subtle ways, and I feel it in my stomach. And I don't know what action to take or if I should take any action. So people, I think, must freeze on, you kind of like just freeze. You don't know who you are and what you're supposed to be about when this comes up, is what I'm thinking. All right, so we're gonna ask on a state, I want you to put I'll test with my magnet. Okay, so North Pole, put your hand on your forehead. Yeah, okay, bring your hand down. And so we're just going right over the stomach, and we 2-pointed, so it's going to be family, dad, exception of birth, 5, 10, 10 to 15, age 12, and I went right to the original event. And if we need to talk about now, we will, but we'll do it backwards. So age 12, this is your anger. My anger with dad. Is it dad's anger? No. My anger with dad when I'm 12. Do you know why?
Did it have anything to do with a car accident?
Yes.
I would say it was, we were on the way to church and my boyfriend was supposed to pick me up and he didn't show up. Well, we had just, yeah, I was probably closer to 13. I started dating Ron when I was.
All right, okay. So your boyfriend was supposed to pick you up. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And he was going to take me to church because that was the only place we would go is church. Well, and he wasn't there on time and Mom wasn't going to let me stay home because it was church day. So we all got in the station wagon, started down the road, made the turn on one side road. And when we made the turn, we got halfway down the county block and we seen my boyfriend's car go past the end where it was like a T road. So I started like, Mom, he's just came. So she started backing the car up, and when she backed it up, she lost control of it and put it into a telephone pole on the rear end.
Whoa.
So when we got back to the house, Dad was angry and yelling, and
so he didn't go to church.
Crying. He was crying.
He didn't go to church.
He wasn't going that time. I think it was a midweek and he wasn't going for some reason. I think he was going to church with us at that point in our lives, but he was going to church with us at that point, but
not always.
But not on that night.
Okay. So my anger with Dad at age 12, and it has to do with the car accident. So what's my anger with Dad? Because he wasn't there, he wouldn't have had the accident, or my anger with Dad because he's blaming us?
I think it was because he was mad at us. I know he was mad at Mom because she shouldn't have backed up. But for me to be angry with him, maybe I was angry with him because he was angry with Mom.
My anger with Dad because, well, I feel like there's a bunch here. Like I'm angry with Dad because why would he like just yell at her and mistreat her? Like
because it was probably at a really tight financial space in their lives and his things were more important to him. But I think what I've thought of in the past is, as an adult, I can see that maybe he was at his wit's end on finances, but he has been pretty selfish when it comes to his stuff.
Right.
So it may be a combination of both those things, just mad about he was going to have to buy another car and there was 6 kids, and it was just
Right. So he's more concerned about
the
damage
car.
to his stuff
Right.
than any hurt that you guys might have.
Yeah, my gut says that didn't even cross his mind. He was upset because the car was damaged to the point where she couldn't even drive it. They had to get another car.
So I'm angry at Dad because he's more concerned with car damage than he is to hurting us.
Makes sense to me.
Yep. So right now in your life, so I'm doing this a little backwards. So currently, your anger, is it the same thing that he's more concerned with things than he is people?
Um,
I mean, is that current too?
well, he's still that way, yeah. I mean, I see a lot more tenderness in him when I really look past and I really see his heart. But yes, he's done that for 80 some years, so he's pretty much stuck in it's the stuff thing, you know.
So yeah, so my anger with my dad and the injustice of it is, you know,
He's not even taking care of himself because of stuff.
he gives more attention to things than people.
Yeah, it's very accurate.
All right, so I'm thinking of how the injustice and the unfairness gives more attention. I'm putting that in there. Attention to things instead of people. And that's what's not fair. Right. He gives more attention to things and he cares more for things than he does people. This sounds like this is I could see how this would definitely, what I do know about your life, I could see how you would be conflicted here because you could have family member who want to accuse you of being more interested in things because you didn't just hand over everything to them. Or because you have like a house in Florida and they don't, they're angry because they think that you somehow don't care about them and that all you care about is this. Like almost like you have to prove to your family that they're more important or people are more important because of the accusation that, well, because of the pattern of your dad seeing things as, and in the family, things are more important than people. And that everybody has to defend themselves. If you have things, you have to defend yourself.
I got that going on in my life, yeah.
Okay, so that might be the injustice. The injustice isn't that I have things and you don't. The injustice is if you have things in this family, you have to always be defensive about the things you have, or you have to hand them over to people who don't have it to prove that you're a good person, to prove that you can be trusted, to prove that you're fair. It's kind of like a mini microcosm of social justice. If you have a lot of things and someone else doesn't, that is unjust.
And if I try to defend my position, like I am almost 65 years old. I've worked my butt off all my life for what I have, and you want me to just hand it over? Well, and you use me and abuse me to get it have no respect for, I mean, I'll share. Right. But if you think that you can just come in and take it or use it without even having the respect to ask about it, then I have a problem.
Right. Yeah. But what we have learned, what we've learned about that whole concept is if you are a poor, impoverished person and you're a woman, and there's another woman who's like, and you're single, and there's another woman who's married and you know what, and she's worked hard and everything, but she has more money. Well, that's not just until she gives it to the poor person. Like the poor person or the person who seems to have less available to them, they're allowed to have a windfall of money and good luck. and that's supposedly justice. But those who work their A off for it, who are like in a privileged group, they aren't, that's unjust, right? And it's a weird kind of concept. It's definitely how we are in our social strata. Like we're all a little bit confused. And I think it's because just exactly what you said. It doesn't matter that I worked my butt off for it. And why do I have to defend this? And the reason you have to defend it is because there's a whole bunch of people who don't have what you have, who feel like it's unjust that you have it and they don't. And it's like, it's a weird combination. So I'm thinking, because you were raised in this family where your dad was already very into his things, and now we're in a culture where if you have to be a have-not to be able to get away with stuff. If you're a have-not, you could tear down statues, right?
Right.
If you are an entitled person, you know, you can't tear down statues. That's not allowed. You know, you can't break the law. It's all going to be coming against you. But if you've got a hard way to go, well, we're going to give you a few more measures because that would be justice. Like that's what we were told that justice is. It is
Right.
a really, really strange thing. I mean, I heard a Black minister say the same thing as you just said. I worked my butt off to get where I am. And he said, but if a white guy does that, he has to feel guilty about it. And he can't, it's not just for him to have it on any cause. The other thing he said that was really interesting, he said, and yet Colin Powell has kids who were always raised with way more than most kids in this country. They're allowed to have it because they're Black. I mean, I was listening to a Black minister kind of talking about that, and I was like, that's a really kind of tilting me a little bit. It's true, but he was pointing out why it's so confusing for all of us. But I'm thinking, you're in a culture that's shoving something at you that is very similar to feelings of justice and injustice you just felt in your family. It had nothing to do with the have and the have-nots. You know?
Right.
So this is my anger because he puts more emphasis on things than he does whether he doesn't seem to care if we've been hurt. So what I'm thinking is currently when you have people who accuse you of having more and they want to use the argument that that's what you care about, that's why you have more, because it was easier for you somehow, or that's what you care about. So when they put that argument on you, you feel like you have to defend yourself because you don't want to be the dad who really did make it about things. But the person who doesn't have very much, who accuses of you of that, they're the ones who are like your dad. They are making it about things.
Right.
And it's not about things. It's about, and so here you are defending yourself, going, why am I defending myself? I mean, it's never been about things. And all of a sudden it's like, I have things and somebody with nothing is making it about things.
And trying to take it away from me.
Right. Or yeah, you have to feel guilty because you have it. Or you have to feel obligated to spread out everything you have with everybody who asked for it, whoever that is, which is, yeah. And what I'm saying is it's nagging you in the belly because of this situation with your dad, really, even to this day, being more interested in things than he is with people. So then when people come and try to make a case that you somehow need to give up what you have to them, or you're not a nice person, you kind of lose. You start to go, am I not a nice person? What should I give? And you get all defensive and you feel uncomfortable. And I think it's because of the dad, what you grew up with. So we're going to go to anger. Yeah. So we're going to put, let's see, oh wait, it's hand on liver, hand on forehead. And for those of you who want to know what the magnet is, it's red or South Pole on her liver and South Pole on, and I have the magnets out of my because I don't want to put them on me while I'm working on her. And then I need you to think about how unfair it was that your dad cared more about the things, about the car, than he cared about what you all might have gone through and how you might have been hurt in the accident, and how unfair that was, and how it made you feel angry. And while you're okay, so here's the confusing thing. Your dad felt like it wasn't fair that you busted up his car,
Yeah.
right? So he still made it about things. Okay, breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in, breathe out. Woo! I love this. All right. So are there any other, just anger. So it's this anger, and you are such a nice person that you are not going to get angry. You're not going to get angry with somebody because you're never going to make your moral argument more important than their soul. And so because of that, you can't risk getting angry because you might lose their soul.
Yeah.
So you won't get angry because, yeah, I want to take the high road. Yeah, winning my moral argument about this is not going to save their soul. So so you're just kind of left with the anger of the age 12. Okay, so phase 1, phase 2. All right, we're doing heart. So instead of phase 1 or phase 2 trauma, we're going to do the statements right until you want to rub your collarbone, just under your collarbone, which are the fear release points for those of you who are wondering. So we're going to do some body points while we walk through the forgiveness. So I need you to say, I forgive myself for believing.
Forgive myself for believing
That I can't love my dad.
that I can't love my dad
Without feeling this anger.
without feeling this anger.
That I could never release.
That I could never release.
Because while my dad thought it was unfair that we busted his car.
Because while I thought
my dad thought it was unfair.
It was unfair that we busted up his car.
I felt it was unfair.
I thought it was unfair.
That his car was more important than what we went through.
His car was more important than what we went through.
And his car was more valuable than us.
And his car was more valuable than us.
And then breathe. I forgive my dad.
I forgive my dad.
For, for being greedy.
For being greedy.
And I want to say, and caught up in all his material things.
Caught up in all his material things.
And not concerned about how we might be hurt.
And not concerned about how we might be hurt.
Or what we needed from him.
Or what we needed from him.
The reassurance we needed from him.
The reassurance we needed from him.
And then breathe. I forgive the people in my life now.
I forgive the people in my life now.
Who think that who believe what I can give them.
Who believe they think I can give them.
That they don't have.
That they don't have.
Or they think they don't have.
They think they don't have.
Is better than the love and reassurance.
Better than the love and reassurance.
That I have for them.
That I have for them.
And my belief.
And my belief.
That they're going to be okay.
They're going to be okay.
And then breathe. I give my dad permission to forgive me
I give my dad permission to forgive me
for internalizing the anger
for internalizing the anger
because, wow, I'm thinking about the justice weirdness. Internalizing the anger uh, because because I was concerned. Maybe we did do something wrong busting his car.
Maybe we did do something wrong busting his car.
I had to hold the anger in because I was trying to figure out if we were the bad guys.
I had to hold my anger in because I felt like we were the bad guys.
Right, that busting up his car and his things.
Because I was being selfish and wanting mom to back up for me.
Right, that we were the bad guys.
That we were the bad guys.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that I have to make this fair.
that I have to make this fair.
Yeah, by being vulnerable and giving in
By being vulnerable and giving in
to anyone who doesn't have what I have.
to anyone who doesn't have what I have.
So
Or
that
to anyone who wants what I have without sacrificing on their own to get it.
right. Or anybody who wants what I have who
Or anybody
what
who
I
wants.
wanted to say it's not even that sacrifice, who wants what I have simply because they don't have it.
They don't have it.
Yeah. And then breathe. Wow.
I just got a vision of 4-leaf clover.
Uh,
Weird.
wow. I forgive myself for believing I have to feel this anger in my stomach.
I forgive myself for feeling I have to feel this anger in my stomach.
Um, and the feeling that it's not fair.
And the feeling that it's not fair.
That Dad accuses us of being unfair to him.
That Dad accuses us of being unfair to him.
When he's the one being unfair to us.
Fair to us.
And then breathe. Yeah, I forgive my dad
I forgive my dad
for accusing us
for accusing us
of not caring
caring
about his property
his property,
and ruining his property
ruining his property
without a thought for how hard he worked for it.
without a thought for how hard he worked for it.
I forgive my dad
I forgive my dad
for creating an argument about what's fair.
for creating an argument about what's fair.
Wow, to blame us for the loss or the brokenness of his property.
For the loss and the brokenness of his property.
And then breathe. I forgive my dad
I forgive my dad
for for holding back, giving us
giving
some
us
kind of caring
caring
because we just were in a car wreck.
because we were just in a car wreck.
Because his property got damaged.
Property got damaged.
And then breathe. I forgive my dad
I forgive my dad
for believing that his damaged property made him a victim, and he didn't have any responsibility after that to give us anything. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I forgive my dad for believing that his damaged property entitled him to not feel responsible to give us anything.
to help him feel like he's not responsible to give us anything
Because we damaged his car.
because we damaged his car.
And because he was hurt by this damage, he's not responsible. And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing I am responsible
I forgive myself for feeling I am responsible
to make everything okay for my dad that
to give okay for my dad
that he felt hurt by before I can be loved. And then breathe. Yeah, I forgive members of my family now.
Forgive members of my family now and friends, neighbors.
Yeah, who use their lost material things or material things that have been broken or ruined as leverage to make me feel like it's not fair that I have nice things. And that I should give it all out. In order to right the wrong my dad used against us. And then breathe. Yeah. I forgive my dad for using this damage to his property and this great loss he felt as an entitlement to to not take responsibility, to give forgiveness, to give love and support, and compassion to his kids or his wife or anyone else. And then breathe. I forgive my dad for believing that that the damage that has been caused to his things entitles him to not be responsible to give anything to anyone. And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing that it's not fair that I have to be responsible to give and give and give and give and give to people who still say it's not fair. And then breathe. Yeah. I say yes
I say yes
to this this idea that I have to make it fair
that I have to make it fair
by giving
by giving,
to people who don't feel responsible to give to anyone else.
feel responsible to give to anyone else.
Yeah, and then breathe. I say yes to this idea,
I say yes to this idea.
this pattern that I have to feel it's not fair
It's not fair
uh, because that I have to give and give and give
that I have to give and give and give
to people who don't take responsibility in their own life.
responsibility in their own lives.
Or, yeah, and they don't take responsibility so they won't have to give.
They don't take responsibility, so they don't have to give.
And then breathe.
Or I forgive those who don't want to take responsibility unless they can take what's mine to fulfill their responsibilities.
They use me to take responsibility
They use me to take responsibility,
so that they don't have to.
so they don't have to.
And that's what's not fair.
And that's what's not fair.
That's what feels icky to me.
That's what feels very icky to me.
And then breathe.
Then that icky feeling makes me feel like they don't love me. They just want to use me.
Right. Right. Because they don't even want to give love.
They don't appear to even want to give love,
Just like my dad.
just like my dad.
And then breathe. I forgive the people in my life,
Forgive the people in my life,
all of them,
all
past,
of
present, and future,
past, present, and future,
who use the lack of responsibility to give
ability to give,
and use their poverty to support
to support,
their lack of responsibility to give.
ability to give.
I forgive all of them
Forgive all of them
for using,
using
yeah, my, yeah,
my,
for using, for
my
using me, for using me
for using me and my generosity,
and my responsibility
my responsibility
as an entitlement
as an entitlement
to receive
to receive
whatever they want,
whatever they want,
whatever they've decided I have that they should have.
that they should have or
And
be
then,
able to.
and then breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I have to keep playing this
Forgive myself,
injustice,
feeling like I have to keep playing this injustice,
that I have to keep over giving to people who aren't responsible to give anything,
I have to continue to give
to people who won't take responsibility to also give
also give,
to themselves, their own family, and the world.
and the world.
Um, I forgive myself for believing I have to keep doing this to make it just,
I have to keep doing this to keep it just
to bring justice to the situation.
situation.
I forgive myself for believing that I can bring justice to this pattern
This pattern,
by allowing
allowing
people
people
to allowing people to use my responsibility taking
taking
to entitle them to what they don't want to be responsible for.
for.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I have to keep doing this way or
Keep doing this way
Or I'll have to feel all that hurt from age 12.
Or I'll have to feel all that hurt from age 12.
But my dad really didn't care that we got hurt.
Here.
And that it was that we needed him to be strong for us.
And that we needed him to be strong for us.
And that we would gladly work to the bone to give him back his car.
We would gladly work to the bone to give him back his car.
But he wouldn't even give us the time of day.
He wouldn't even give us the time of day.
He wouldn't allow that that justice.
That justice.
That yeah, to come with love.
To come with love.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing that justice, for believing the only way my family can have justice,
the only way my family can have justice,
is if I take responsibility for the things they don't want to be responsible for.
Things you don't want to be responsible for.
And give up what I'm given.
What I've given.
That they haven't taken responsibility to create for themselves.
Responsibility to create for themselves.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing that if I don't give to them, then it's unjust.
If I don't give to them what?
Then it is unjust.
Then it is unjust.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing the only way to serve justice.
Forgive myself for believing the only way to serve justice
is to to give them what they don't want to be responsible for in their own life.
In their own lives.
To give them what I'm responsible for and let them have ownership of it.
Let them have ownership of it.
And then
I
breathe.
got it.
Okay.
I forgive myself for believing that if I don't give the things that I have, that they will see the same injustice, and that they won't see the love I have for them. All they see is the things I won't give them.
Right. And then breathe.
Because I'm associating, like you've been saying, the love with the things, and that if I don't give them, if I don't just open the door and let them just come in and take whatever they want, then I'm not loving them, because if I love them, I would let them have whatever I have.
Right. So I'm being unfair and unloving.
Right. And they won't think about it.
So I forgive these people.
I forgive these people
for believing that I don't love them.
Don't love them or care about them.
Yeah, unless I give them whatever it is they haven't been able to create out of their own responsibility in their own life.
In their own lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgive these people for accusing me.
I forgive these people for accusing me
of not loving them.
Of not loving them or caring about them.
And accusing me of being like my dad, that my things are more important.
That my things are more important.
Than they are.
Than they are.
Until I give it to them.
Until I give it to them.
And then breathe. I forgive my dad for breaking my heart.
Dad for breaking my heart.
Because he really did.
He
really was more concerned about what we broke.
What we broke.
Than the things, instead of
the things.
If he could help us with our hurt.
Help us with our hurt.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for holding on
Forgive myself for holding on
to the love
love
that my dad wouldn't give us.
that my dad wouldn't give us,
All the love he couldn't give us or didn't give us.
couldn't or didn't even know how to give us,
Right. Because he was so concerned about the car.
because he was so concerned about the car.
I let go of all of that love he didn't give.
I let go of all that love he didn't give,
And the anger that I felt.
and this anger that I felt.
And I open up massive space
I open up massive space
where God
where God
can give me
can give me
all the love,
all the love,
all the healing,
all the healing,
all the reconciliation
all the reconciliation
that I ever wanted from my dad,
that I ever wanted from my dad,
so that I would know
so that I would know
that he had forgiven us about the car
that he had forgiven us about the car,
and that we didn't owe anything anymore.
that we didn't owe anything anymore.
And then breathe. I say yes
I say yes
to the debt of this broken car
to the debt of this broken car
that my dad was so upset about.
that my dad was so upset about.
I say yes to this debt,
I say yes to this debt.
and I call it up,
I call it up,
and I release this debt
this debt
of the broken car
of the broken car
uh, to God's love and mercy.
to God's love and mercy.
And then breathe. Yeah. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free
I am free
to, to stop, I want to say to stop entering in relationships
stop entering into relationships
where I have to fix the car that that I didn't break
that I didn't break
to be loved.
to be loved,
And then breathe. To belong
to belong,
and to be forgiven.
and to be forgiven.
And then breathe.
I forgive myself for believing I have to take on all the responsibility of that broken car because I was the one who begged Mom to back up.
Yes. And then breathe. I forgive myself for taking on the blame
Forgive myself for taking on the blame
for, I want to say, the results of the lack of responsibility in other people's lives.
for the results of the lack of responsibility in other people's lives.
And then breathe.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, Mom was the driver. She could have went just a little bit farther and turned around in a driveway and went back. She didn't have to back up.
Right. She was the driver. You didn't have anything to do with it. Yeah. I give my mom permission to forgive me
I give my mom permission to forgive me
for having a boyfriend
for having a boyfriend
who was committed to me
who was at the time committed to me
and nice to me.
and nice to me.
When she had a husband who was really mean to her.
Who was really mean to her.
And breathe. I forgive myself for believing it's not fair for me to have a husband who's really nice.
I forgive myself for believing that it's not okay for me to have a husband who's not really nice.
And it's not fair.
It's not fair.
Yeah, because I took the blame for how my dad treated my mom in that accident.
for the way that my dad treated my mom in that accident.
And then breathe. Yeah. I give myself permission
Give myself permission
to say yes to the idea of deserving or undeserving.
to say yes to the idea of deserving or undeserving.
And I call it up.
I call it up.
I release that idea of deserving to God's love and mercy.
God's love and mercy.
And then breathe. Without this idea of deserving,
Without this idea of deserving,
I am free
I am free
to accept the truth
to accept the truth
that what I have or don't have has nothing to do with what I deserve.
or don't do or don't have has anything to do with what I deserve.
And
Or
what someone
deserve.
else
And what someone else has
nothing to do with what I deserve or don't deserve,
has nothing to do with what I deserve or don't deserve.
or what they deserve or don't deserve.
What they deserve or don't deserve.
It's all a gift
It's all a gift
from a God
from a God
who loves us.
who loves us.
And then breathe. I say yes
I say yes.
to this anger
This anger,
and violence and shame
violence, and shame
that was put on me,
that was put on me,
or that I put on myself,
or that I put on myself
because I took the blame for the wrecked car.
because I took the blame for the wrecked car.
I call it all up and I release it
I call it all up and I release it.
to God's love and mercy.
God's love and mercy.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
my heart doesn't have to break
my heart doesn't have to break
every time
every time
someone expects me to take responsibility
one expects me to take responsibility.
because they don't want to.
They don't want to.
And then breathe. Or someone wants me to take responsibility because I have a great husband.
Wants me to take responsibility because I have a great husband.
And because I have lots of blessings in my life they don't have.
In my life that they don't have.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I don't have to defend
you have to defend
the blessings of a great husband and prosperity of love and material possessions with an argument to prove I deserve it.
That I deserve it.
Yeah, I can stop telling him I worked my A off.
You can stop telling people I worked my A off for it.
Right. Instead, I can feel grateful for the gift.
Grateful for the gift.
And I can show them love.
I can show them love.
Without feeling guilty or ashamed or angry
when I have to stand my ground.
Yeah, or defensive of the gifts that God has showered me with. And then breathe. Without this pattern, I don't have to, without this pattern, working myself to the bone is not why.
No, sorry, say that again. Working myself to
the bone and suffering and sacrificing is not why I am blessed.
I am blessed.
It is because God loves me.
It is because God loves me.
And in his love,
In his love,
he has blessed me far more than I could ever earn.
ever earn.
And he does this for everyone.
He does this for everyone.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free
I am free
to give
to give
out of the inspiration of being called to give,
out of the inspiration of being called to give,
and not out of shaming, guilt,
not out of shaming, guilt,
and entitlement
and entitlement.
that people show up in my life with.
Life for.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free to freely give and show generosity.
no generosity.
Without, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm free to show that. Oh, out of inspired
Out of
Holy Spirit
Holy Spirit
movement
movement
in my life.
in my life.
And not just because every person gives me a sad story,
Not because every person gives me a sad story,
or because someone's victim story is worse than mine,
or someone's victim story is worse than mine,
or because they have less money than me.
or because they have less money than me.
This opens me to be able to give
Opens me to be able to give
way more
way more,
to people who may have more than me,
have than more than me.
but they need me to give something that God has given me.
God has given me.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free to give my dad
my dad,
all the love
all the love
that he wasn't able to give to me
he wasn't able to give to me or to us.
because of the love that God has given to me.
He's given to me.
And then breathe. Even if my dad
Even if my dad
is still valuing possessions more than people,
is still valuing possessions more than people,
I can love him and give him love.
I can love him and give him love.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I can say no.
I can say no.
I don't think this is the best thing for me to give you right now.
This is not the best thing for me to give you right now.
I'm gonna be here believing in you,
I'm going to be here believing in you,
and I'm gonna allow the Holy Spirit to inspire me with what I give,
and I'm going to allow the Holy Spirit to inspire me in what I give.
rather than this old story
This old story.
of
This
guilt and
freedom
shame,
story.
of guilt and shame around
Thing
something I couldn't fix at the time,
at the time,
and I took on as some debt that I owed,
some debt that I owed.
so that anyone who showed up with a sad story like their car got wrecked, I have to fix.
So that anytime anybody shows up with a sad story like their car isn't fixed, I need to help them get it fixed.
Yeah, and then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I don't have to give up,
I don't have to give up
everything that I own
what I own
to other people
other people,
to truly give it all to God.
to truly give it all to God.
And breathe. I can give up my life. I can give my life to God.
I can give my life to God
without
without
feeling defensive
feeling defensive
about
about
what I don't think might be the right thing to give to people.
I don't think is the right thing to give to people.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free to take my time
I'm free to take my time,
and pray and look for direction from the Holy Spirit
Holy Spirit,
when
when
someone
someone
irresponsible
responsible
is upset because I'm responsible.
as I'm responsible.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free to show love and grace
I'm free to show love and grace,
and let God be the one who gives justice.
be the one who gives justice.
I can stop giving justice
I can stop giving justice,
by giving away everything somebody thinks I ought to give up.
things I ought to give up.
And then breathe. How are you feeling?
Got one thing to say. I forgive myself for feeling guilty or have any wrong emotions when I don't allow people to presume on me and my things that I forgive myself for believing I don't love people when I have to draw boundary lines and have expectations of respect for what's mine.
And that I am
like I can't share it. It's not that I don't want to share it. I just want to expect respect.
Yes, and then breathe. Yeah, I forgive myself.
I forgive myself
for believing that I have to feel angry.
That I have to feel angry
when people show up disrespecting me. And
my
that and what I need in a relationship to feel respected.
And what I need in a relationship to feel respected.
And me just as a person.
And me just as a person.
And what I believe in.
And what I believe in, Annette. And I forgive myself for believing that when I have to push back, that they aren't going to love me because I don't share my things.
Yes.
In their minds, I don't share my things.
They'll use that against me instead of the fact that they simply are very ungrateful and unkind and don't show me respect.
Right.
Like you're not getting a good deal. You give them what they ask for, hoping that they're going to respect you, and they still don't.
I give them 3 cookies and they want the whole jar.
Right. They still don't come around and go, wow, Mom, you're really smart, or Shirley, you're amazing. I should come to you for advice more often. They don't do that. They just come for the things and then they're out of there.
Oh, and thank you for the cookies.
I want to say I forgive everybody who has made, I want to say this. I surely forgive people in my life who have received my generosity and then made fun of me or belittled me
or jumped in for more
or belittled my opinions and my wisdom and treated me as though I was that I was not a very smart person. That I was insignificant. Well, it's not even that. That I'm a silly dreamer.
I'm a silly dreamer.
And then breathe. Yeah.
My dad says not. He says I'm not a silly dreamer.
Oh, good. Well, and what I'm thinking is when you tell them, you give advice, like even like you say, you need to get some vitamins for that, or you need to do that, and people just brush you off like you're like a nobody.
Yeah.
You have, you
Not a
have,
medical person.
you actually healed cancer in your life, and they still don't see you as an authority. So I forgive myself for believing that I can only be an authority
Authority.
if I give away everything I have.
Everything I have.
And then breathe. I forgive people for rejecting the authority that I have in my life,
I have in my life.
and instead expecting all the things,
And instead expecting all the things.
and still not giving me respect in my authority.
In my authority.
And then breathe. Yeah, that's a big one. I give myself permission
Give myself permission.
to step into my God-given place of authority,
Step into my God-given place of authority.
and to stop defending it
And stop defending it.
or trying to prove it
Or trying to prove it.
or trying to get people to put me in authority by me giving them things.
Or people trying to put me into authority by giving them things.
Yeah, I step into my God-given authority.
I step into my God-given authority.
Even when I'm afraid.
Even when I'm afraid.
If I tell them no,
If I tell them no,
they'll accuse me of just caring about things.
of just caring about things.
And then breathe. They'll hurt my feelings.
They'll hurt my feelings.
And then breathe. I forgive this family for harshly judging the people who were in authority.
Who were in authority.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for harshly judging my dad who was in authority.
Who was in authority.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for rejecting my own place of authority.
My own place of authority.
Because people in this family are hard on those who take authority.
Because this family is hard on those who take authority.
And they harshly judge them and entitle themselves to what they have.
Themselves to what they have.
And then breathe. Oh, that feels better.
I forgive myself for believing that authority has all rights to the reason I'm saying it is like have to say yes to authority because they are authority, even if they have not been given that authority by God.
Okay, that would be the unjustness.
Yeah, okay.
I forgive myself for believing I can't take the authority God has given me.
I forgive myself for believing I can't take the authority God has given me.
Without, well, what were you going to say?
One of those people.
Without being one of those people who uses their authority.
Their authority.
Yes.
In selfish ways.
Yes. In ungodly ways.
Ungodly ways, yes. Self-serving ways.
Yes. I forgive myself for believing it wouldn't be fair. I think we're done with the fair thing. Never mind about that. I couldn't get a charge on that. I forgive myself for believing it's not safe for me to take authority that God gave me.
I forgive myself for believing it's not safe for me to take authority that God gave me.
Because other people in this family think it's not fair.
Because other people in this family think it's not fair.
And then breathe.
And the thing that's kind of sticking right now is that I've always, no matter what the authority was, whether they're right or they're wrong, always completely 100% listen to the authority whether they're right or wrong, just followed like a robot.
Right.
So
So I forgive myself for believing
forgiving myself for believing
that I can't honor and receive my God-given authority.
given authority.
Um,
Because I have to be perfect to be an authority.
that's it. Because people, because I have to be perfect. I forgive myself for believing my authority is dependent on my being perfect.
My being perfect.
And then breathe. I give myself permission.
I give myself permission.
I forgive myself for rejecting God's authority in my life.
I forgive myself for rejecting God's authority in my life.
And then breathe. Yeah, because of the way my dad handled his authority.
Because of the way my dad handled his authority.
And then breathe. I give myself permission
Give myself permission
to get serious
to get serious
out of kindness
out of kindness
and God's authority on me.
and God's authority on me.
That I cannot tolerate
Not tolerate
people treating me badly
badly
because
because
God wouldn't want that in my life.
God wouldn't want that in my life.
And he doesn't want it in their life either.
He doesn't want it in their life either.
Them showing up and taking advantage or treating me in a flippant way
way
because they aren't seeing
because they aren't
what God put on my life.
Seeing what God put on my life.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing I need other people to tell me who I am.
I forgive myself for believing I have to have other people tell me who I am and give me permission to be who I am.
And give me permission to receive God's authority in my life.
In my life.
And then breathe. Yeah. Without this pattern, I don't need people to show up respecting me and giving me love and seeing my authority.
Seeing my authority or agreeing with my authority.
Yeah, for me to stand in my authority.
Stand in my authority.
Yeah, because God is the one who gave me that.
Because God gave me that.
And then breathe. Without this pattern, I can stop looking at other people.
Without this pattern, I can stop looking at other people.
To give me permission.
Give me permission.
Or to take that permission away.
Or to take that permission away.
For the authority that God is giving me.
The authority God has given me.
And then breathe. Without this pattern, I no longer take it personally or feel hurt.
I don't take it personally or hurt.
Or feel offended.
Or feel offended.
When a family member or anyone doesn't recognize my God-given authority. And then breathe. I can take back all that power that I gave to those people.
I can take back all the power that I gave to those people.
To tell me if to make me feel okay about me. Yeah, I could take all that power back. So I can use it. The way God wanted me to. Yeah, and I'm not trying, and I don't have to make other people feel good about who they are.
I don't have to make other people feel good about who they are.
I just need to love them from a place of God's love.
God's love.
And that doesn't always make people feel good about themselves. sometimes it convicts them and they have to repent.
Sometimes it convicts them and they have to repent.
And that doesn't always feel good.
That doesn't always feel good, but it's
But
not
but it is love.
is love.
And I can stand up
And I can stand up
and have more passion about saving their soul
saving your soul,
than I do about winning an argument.
winning an argument.
And then breathe.
Without this pattern, I am free to communicate with authority and push back and negotiate with authority in my life without
Right.
feeling like I have to kowtow to them just because they are my authority.
Or so that they, kowtow to them so that I feel good about me and my being an authority.
Right.
Yeah.
For my life.
That I'm going to feel good about me being in my authority because God has made that so, and not because somebody came along and said, all right, you're where you need to be. But I think there are people that do that, and it's kind of like a gift from God, but you've been attracting a lot more people who aren't doing that. Instead, they kind of like clobber you when you go in that space.
Yeah.
You just feel like the rejection. You don't feel like there's an uplifting. It's like they don't want you to be there.
I'm thinking
Because
about
it's their own problem.
and I push back on the doctors, and I've done my own research and taken responsibility for my own life that they don't. I mean, they're doing what they've been trained to do, but then I feel bad because I'm arguing with. It's like, and I get that even with like my husband. It's like, are you arguing with the doctor? He's the authority. I'm like,
oh, that's funny. Well,
yeah.
you know what? You're gathering information from your place of authority with another person who's in authority.
Right.
You're gathering information so that you can then let that settle with the authority that you've been given and see what you need to do. And you know what?
I'll drop that guilty because I'm arguing with, I'm not arguing. I'm negotiating. I'm asking questions. I'm forming my own opinion on how my treatment should be. And I shouldn't feel guilty about it just because I've always, up until now, been going, oh, you're the authority. You know more than I do. I just do what you tell me to do. And I'm not doing that anymore.
I think, and I think what you're doing is you're saying, I'm being responsible to all the information that God is giving me. And it's not only coming from you.
Exactly.
I'm being responsible to all the information that God has given me. And with that information, I'm going to show up and be in integrity. And I hope in that integrity that I will inspire others to show up and be in integrity with themselves.
Exactly.
And that's all it is. And what I think, this issue from age 12 has made you cave in relationships because you were still, it would bring up this pain of having to fix dad's car. And so you would like, you know what, it's the way I can make this pain go away is I'll just give you what you want. And now I feel better, but something about it doesn't feel right. What I feel better about is the memory with dad feels better, but then it comes back. So I need you to say, I forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing
that I have a problem with injustice.
With injustice.
And it's not fair.
And it's not fair.
And authority.
And authority.
When I really have a problem with old memories.
When I really have a problem with old memories.
And I pray over those memories.
I pray over those memories.
I love you, God. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you. Oh, that feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can't think how many people popped up in my mind about this, not just family, but people in my life.
Like I was thinking all the dots were connecting.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh.
Hey, I got stage of healing as stage 7. And how's your stomach?
Feeling light and happy.
Woo, yes. Light and happy. Wow, that's so good. And wow, that's really good because it really is.
I gotta tell you, that car, he got some, like pizza crib. From what I remember, it was like, it wasn't all that good of a car. And it wasn't really that big for us because it was like a bench seat in the back and a bench seat in the front. And this was a station wagon. And he'd just gotten that nice car. We had all this room. So what he did was he took that car and he had it restored. And he wouldn't let us ride in it at all ever again. We called it the Shrine Buggy. The Shrine Buggy.
Oh my
And you know what
gosh.
happened? And it ended up sitting out by the barn and literally deteriorating. He never drove it anymore. He might have drove it, but we never was able to, we were not allowed in that car anymore.
Wow.
The Shrine.
Wow. So he really, by having that car just sit there as a symbol to the fact that you never were able to pay the debt.
Right.
He never let anybody pay it off, where he said, okay, you're in good now. It's all even. He never let you guys off the hook. So
Nope.
that's why there are so many people who show up and you easily your memory is going, I got to pay the debt. I got to get rid of this pain, this problem with my dad.
Not only was it a damaged car, but then he had to pay all that money to get it fixed and get another car. And that car literally just came and they tried to pull it away and it just fell apart when somebody came by it.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. That is so not where we thought we were going. It was so much. And you know what? And I think we didn't really, I felt like I needed to go to the original event and then pull it back to current time instead of starting with current time. And I think the reason is because there's so many people on that list currently.
Right. Oh yeah.
That are stepping into this space. So yeah.
Got that correct.
Well, I totally love you. I love working with you. I am so proud of you as a practitioner. I think you're amazing and you're just getting better and better. So I'm happy to have done this with you today. And thank you. I'm going to hit my stop recording.